Hey everybody, I'm going to be covering this notebook today. This is a pocket size Nanami Café note, and it comes with a black vinyl cover, and I didn't like it anymore. I wanted to do my own thing, so I tore it off. It is glued down pretty well, so you can see how badly the cover of the notebook looks now. And I didn't even get off all of the vinyl. I was going at it with an X-Acto knife and everything. So a lot of places are really thin. So the front thinned out so much that I had to glue it to the first end paper there to give it a little bit more structure. So I have in the past used Mod Podge to decorate the covers of my journals and my planner, but it does dry incredibly hard. So I'm going to be using this PVA glue, and as you can see, it's made for bookbinding, and it stays flexible and it dries clear. And I've had it for a long time and just didn't even think to use it. So it's worked really well so far. That's what I used to glue the cover to the end paper. I am going to be covering it with this fabric from a tablecloth. So this is from Walmart, and it's by the Pioneer Woman, but it has the most gorgeous floral print on it. And I adore it, and I bought it for the sole purpose of using it to cover journals. These are just some scrapbook papers that I had picked out because I thought I would use them on the inside of the notebook cover. And these are just the tools I'm planning to use. So I've got my paper slicer, my metal ruler, my sponge applicator, and these labels, they're from Hobby Lobby. They're Chalkboard labels. I use them on the front of my journals, and I really love them. They come in 3 different sizes. Everything will be linked below. I wanted to try and use my Mushroom Girls, but in the end I didn't. But I don't know. I do kind of decorate as I go and as I use the journal, so I left space for that. So I'm sure I will add things to it once I actually start using it. So right now I'm just trying to figure out what bloom that I want to use. So I'm going to go with this one. The print on here is quite large for such a tiny notebook. So I took some time to strategically place this bloom where I like it. And this is what I end up going with. And I really like it. I tried to find the bloom that was closest to the edge of the tablecloth. That way I could have the rest of the tablecloth to use down the road. So I am just going to haphazardly cut a piece out to fit over my notebook. So now I am just going to start gluing. So this is a piece of lamination paper, lamination plastic that I ran through without anything in it. And I'm just using that to protect the pages on the inside when I apply the glue to the cover. I have not done this with fabric before, but I was inspired to do this and completely got the idea from Katie at A Printed Life, and I will link her video below. I think I watched her video over a year ago, and I've always been meaning to do this, and I'm just now getting around to it. And the idea for recovering the pocket cafe note came from Yayi at Eberhart Studio. She made me a cover, a folio cover sized exactly to fit this particular cafe note. And she has her own cafe note as well that she used as a template. And she showed me how she ripped off the vinyl cover and recovered it with some other paper. And that really stuck in my head, and I finally just thought I'm gonna do the same thing and use fabric for mine. So thank you for that idea, Yayi. So this glue is really goopy. It dries pretty quickly because when I put it on to the page and then I start to go spreading it out pretty much immediately, I find that it doesn't want to spread very well. It just seems it seems like it's drying already, because when you put it on, it goes on pretty thin, but then as I start to spread it out, it's like it immediately starts getting thicker. So apparently what I learned from Katie is that this kind of glue is the glue that's like on the end of a notepad, where you would rip off the pages. So that kind of gummy glue that's at the top, that's what this is. So as you can see, I'm just trimming the ends all the way around a little bit, so that they're a little bit easier to fold in. I will say the glue does seep through the fabric a bit, so it really got all over my hands, and it's weird. It just balls up and gets gummy all over the place. And since it does seep through the fabric, I was really rubbing on top of the fabric a lot, and it was causing it to ball up on the outside of the fabric. And so I was having to kind of pick off little pieces. So I would press in the future more than I actually rubbed it. And I had to tear it off there, and it took off some of the cover paper. I didn't have it lined up correctly, so I had to tear it off and put it back on, and I just put it back on really quick and hoped that it would be okay. And it is. So far it's fine. But I just closed in on the black that was, you could see through. That was the black vinyl pieces that were left over on the cover, and you could see them through the lighter color of the fabric. It's on the back side, so it's fine, but I just wanted to show that to you guys, so you can see it there. So keep that in mind. You know, depending on the fabric that you would use, be aware if there are lighter areas and things, brighter, darker colors on the cover that you're covering, it could show through. At this point, I'm just placing a book over it so that it will start drying flat. And I got impatient, so I used my air gun a little bit to dry those inside flaps and some of the outside. I didn't do the fold down the top or the bottom pieces yet because it was just feeling really wet, and just everything was so saturated and it was getting really sticky. So I wanted to let what I had done so far go ahead and dry down a bit. In preparation for folding down those flaps, you could just see me cutting notches in all the corners, and I just cut the chunk off right at the spine. I just am taking a gamble to see if that fabric there will fray, because I am not gluing the fabric to the spine. I want the fabric to be able to bubble up, and I left a tiny bit of room in the spine to allow for the notebook to bulk up a little bit. So we'll see how that goes, and I may just add a little glue to the edge of the fabric that's at the spine, just to keep it from unraveling there. So now that I have all of the edges glued down, I am going to be putting in some end paper or just paper to cover the inside of the cover. And I am going to be using this particular one because it's actually thick cardstock, and especially the back of my cover, there's a section in it that's really thin, and I thought they both really, the front and the back cover, just needed the extra support of some cardstock, especially because I'm going to be slipping the back cover into a folio. So it's pretty much going to look like this, and it's just going to clean up the inside as well. That way it's more visually appealing since I have the fabric kind of glued down all which way. So putting this on there will give it a nice clean look. And I don't know why I chose this particular paper. I suppose the floral was a bit heavy and a bit busy, so these simple lines were just really attractive to me. So I have that's a black notebook under there. It just helped to raise the front cover there so I could press down and make sure everything was adhered nicely. So it was just good to elevate the book. So I'm gonna do the last cover, and I actually take my heat gun again and help these to dry. So I don't know if you're supposed to use a heat gun. I didn't use like super direct heat. I constantly kept it moving and everything, but I don't know. It seems fine. Everything has glued down really nicely. I'm doing this voiceover the next day, and the book is really great. It's amazing. I'm so glad I did it, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not trying it before. So this is how everything looks all together, and I'm really happy with it, and it went a lot better than I thought it would. I don't do much preparation in advance for this stuff. Oh, you could see how the spine is not attached. Yeah, that was the goal, and there's a little bit of, like a tiny bit of extra fabric on the spine. Like I didn't pull it super tight. I wanted to leave a little extra there so that it had the freedom to expand. But yeah, everything has turned out really nice, even though I just dove in head first without having much of a plan. So here I'm just adding the last bits of decoration that I like to put on my journals. So I have my label. I just picked the smallest one that was in the pack, and I'm trying to decide on a mushroom girl, but I think the colors contrasted a bit too much that I ended up not going with one yet anyway. And I love this Dymo label maker. I've gotten in the habit, because I'm on my first journal of the year right now, and I've decorated like 3 more. So this would be like the 4th journal I'm decorating ahead of time. But I like to use my label maker and just type out journal, and that, I don't know, I have an idea in my head that it will look really nice at the end of the year when they're all archived, and they're all the notebooks that are labeled journal are my journals, and they'll be separate from my planners because I tend to keep everything. And I have the clear label tape, which I really enjoy. I have that and the black, but I just decided to go with the clear one for this. And I usually, or what I have been doing is on the black chalkboard label, I'll just use my white gel pen, which you'll see me do here in a second, and I write out the year. So I've been writing out just 2020, like in words, no numbers, and I'll leave a space, and that is where I will number the journal when I get around to using it. I've been really having a lot of fun lately decorating the covers of my journals, and I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself and decorating 10 more journals, because I want to make sure that I leave myself room to be creative as my style evolves and my tastes change throughout the year. So what I tend to do is I won't add stickers and embellishments on the inside covers, like just aside from some cardstock or scrapbook paper. So when I get around to the journal, I can play and decorate inside on those covers. So here I'm just hand lettering 2020, and that space on the left is where I will write in the number whenever I get around. Yeah, whenever I get around to using this. It might be next. So once January ends, I'll be ready for a new journal. So maybe it's this one. I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.